We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Qatar. We got 14 fights to talk about. It's another really big card, and it's a pretty fun card. There's a lot of good fights. I know some people, they prefer name value. They don't love when there's debutants and new guys coming in, but I love that stuff. I love when new fighters are signed and they make their first UFC appearance, and we got 7 of them, I believe, or 6 of them on this card. 2 that we're starting off with here, and yeah, should be a good card. Thank you guys all for tuning in. As always, my guy drinking no things in the chat. What's up, my brother? What's up, 6ix9ine? Good to see you in here. We'll do a quick recap of last week, like always, and this time around, it's a good recap, so that's fun. And then we'll jump into the card. So we had UFC 322 last week. I was in attendance. I was there live with my wife, my brother, and his fiance. And it was a really sick card. We got to see the fights. We got to see 2 crowd fights. The one that everybody saw, the Dylan Dennis and the Habib squad guys. We saw that fight. And then during the main event, there was a fight like one section over from us, just people just brawling it out. Literally in the middle of Islam and JDM fighting. There's another fight happening one section over from us. And honestly, there were more punches landed in that fight than there were in the main event, but it is what it is. Quick recap, though. So first cash was Ethan Ewing. I had him at plus 440. I didn't go hard. I played a quarter unit because I do respect Malcolm. And it was a beautiful performance. It was a great bet. Ewing looked really, really good and on crazy short notice. And people are going to call it a fraud check. I'm not going to call it a fraud check. I don't think Malcolm's a fraud. I think that he also, took a big risk taking a new opponent on short notice. And he just got overwhelmed, against another guy who's good. That's all it was. He's still young in his career. And sometimes people overhype a prospect and then they call it a fraud check, but it was not a fraud check. Then I had Carlos Prates minus 166 to win 1 unit. That was a fun performance when Leon took his back and started punching and Prates was just making that face like he was annoyed to be there. That was good. Then he gets the knockout. I had JDM money line 0.75 units, and I had a quarter unit on his decision prop. I mean, bad bet. I thought that he would have at least some success scrambling. He had zero. He had zero success whatsoever. I won't make excuses for him. He did not look right. He was like cringing the whole time on the ground too, but it's probably just because Islam's that good. So it is what it is. And then I did have Michael Morales money line plus 125 for 1 unit. That cash, that felt really good because I got a lot of crap for that one. And it felt good to be right. It did feel good. I also had Blanchfield sub plus 600 for a quarter unit. I had Blanchfield, the spread minus 3.5 plus 120, 0.85 units. So that was a total profit of 2.5 units there on Blanchfield. Then I had Benoit Saint-Denis round 1 knockout and round 2 knockout. We cashed there. I had my lotto that missed by 2 legs because I had JDM decision on it. And I had Bonico Vieira fight goes on there. And then I also had Valentino Weili fight goes minus 186 to win a unit. And I had Klein and Rodriguez parlayed to win 1 unit. So total profit was 7.66 units. Felt good. And hopefully we can keep it going this week. And we'll hop right into it. We got my guy, Jay's MMA. What's up, brother? Thank you for tuning in. All right, first fight of the night. We've got Marek Bujlo versus Denzel Freeman. Marek, he's going to be 6-0 undefeated. He's going to be 32 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. Freeman on the other side, 6-1-0. He's 34. He's 2 years older, 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Now, both guys making their UFC debut. Normally, we'd probably see this on the Contender Series. I got to fix my chair. Always wheels myself over. But normally would have seen this on the Contender Series, but I think the UFC is trying to revamp the heavyweight division. They know that it's kind of a mess right now, so they're working on it. They're signing new guys, and we're going to see what's what and who's who. But in this fight, I know a lot of people are running to bet Freeman because they look at Mark's record and they're like, oh, this guy sucks. Like I've heard people say this guy's not good. Like, this guy sucks. How can you possibly know? Like, how can you possibly know? Because, yes, he's fought terrible competition, so he's unproven. His competition's horrible, like really, really bad. But he's running through all of them, like destroying all of them. So he's handling them accordingly. Like, yeah, he should probably take a step up in competition before going to the UFC, of course. But how can you say he sucks? Because on the tape, he looks good. It's just that anybody watching and, who knows what they're doing, they know that, yeah, he looks good, but against who, the competition is not great. But to say that he sucks, without ever seeing him look bad, that's kind of crazy to me. And I mean, the skills look to be there. His striking doesn't seem to be anything special. He's not really on the feet much. He's more of a grappler. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's got some solid kicks. The hands don't look too good, but he's okay. He seems serviceable. He's a big dude. He's a big heavyweight, and his grappling's pretty good. He's not an amazing wrestler. He's not shooting a lot of doubles. A lot of it is just trips, and he's fighting undersized opponents, so it's not that hard. And then he gets on top, and usually it's just a ground and pound TKO or something like that. He does have some submissions, but overall, like I don't have any information to say he's bad. I have information to say he's unproven. He's never left the first round, never faced even a semblance of adversity. We don't know how his cardio is, especially when somebody's actually fighting back. There's a lot of things to say about him that aren't great, but to say he sucks, that's just somebody who's not taping at all. They're just looking at the record and they're like, oh yeah, he sucks. Because there's no way you can look at the tape and be like, this guy sucks. It doesn't make sense. But on the other side with Freeman's pretty good. He's definitely more proven. He's fought better competition for sure. He's fought some guys who are not UFC level. I mean, one of them's in the UFC now. Steven Asplin got signed off the Contender Series, and everybody loves him because he's funny. But Freeman beat him. Freeman beat Kuna, who also lost on the Contender Series, but still a solid win. Like, Kuna's better than the guys that Marek is fighting, that's for sure. And he's solid, but like, I have my concerns with Freeman. Like, he's a good wrestler. I would say that's what he's strongest at. He's got nice takedowns. He's got solid control. He has good ground and pound. He's got good submissions of his own, good rear naked choke. His striking's not very good. He's fighting out of southpaw stance. He's got a decent jab. He's got decent stuff on the feet, but it's not great. The output is really, really low, and his cardio doesn't seem to be very good. Now, Marek's could be abysmal. We don't know. But with Denzel, I at least have the information where I can talk about it. His cardio is not good. He's slowing down even in fights that he's winning. He looks very tired in round 2. He looked really tired in round 3 against Pinson when he lost that one. So while I do think that Freeman's more proven, and I do like him to win this fight because of that, because I know that I can trust that, even if he looks tired, he can go into round 2. I've seen it before. And I do have an inkling that his wrestling will work and that he can be able to take down Marek. Those are reasons that I do think Freeman is the guy who's going to get it done. But can I bet him at almost minus 200 when Marek could be the goods? We just don't know for sure. And Freeman does show some issues so far with the cardio, with the fact that he's not the best striker, with the fact that his output's not very good. So it's a tricky fight. I wouldn't really get overly invested in this. The only spot that I'm looking at possibly is like Freeman round 2. I wouldn't pick a method. I would just because I lean KO, just like a ground and pound, but I could see him subbing Marek, despite Marek being a black belt. If Marek gets really tired, that black belt doesn't matter anymore. And then I could see Freeman getting a sub 2. So I'll go round 2 under my kind of gut feeling that Marek will slow down and Freeman will maybe not even take over. He might be leading from the beginning, but I just trust him a little bit more, so that's what I'm going to do. And if I do bet it, that's how I'll do it. But I think it's best to probably pass on that fight. And I'm really trying not to donate back my winnings from last week because we needed that. It was a good start of the year, and then I hit like about a 4 to 6 month period where it was just kind of plateaued, but going down a little bit. And then finally we had last week, we had Saturday, and that brought us back. And I would really like to keep it going. I don't want to dip back into the red. So let's move on. Real quick, though, I see Jackson in here. What's up, Jackson? He had an awesome hey, Cash. He also had a great week. 6 units. Let's go, Jackson. Good stuff there, man. 6 units is great. Jay is saying had a bet on Prates round 2 KO. Hey, I wish I had a full unit on Ewing, At the end of the day, like, we work with the information we have pre-flop, and hindsight's 2020. What's up, Tristan? Thanks for tuning in, brother. Good to see you. All right. Next up, we've got Saygid Izagakhmaev versus Nicolas Dalby. Saygid, he's going to be 22-2-0, 31 years old, 6'1". We don't have his reach. Dalby on the other side, 23-6-1, 41 years old. So he's going to be 10 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter. And he's going to have, well, we don't know Saygid's reach, but he's got a 74.5-inch reach. So if you guys aren't familiar with Saygid, it makes sense. He hasn't been active for 3 years, but pretty much if you guys know who Carlson Harris is, Saygid's the reason Carlson Harris is in the UFC. What happened was, it was, I think, 2021. It was shortly after Khabib retired. He bought out, I don't remember what the promotion was called before. might have been like Lion FC or something. He bought a Russian promotion, named it Eagle FC because his nickname's the Eagle. And his idea was he's going to use it as like a feeder league to the UFC, kind of make it like the Russian LFA. And he had Dana come in for like a Dana White's looking for a fight. Like, if you guys don't know what that is, it's like a thing that Dana White does very occasionally. It's like a little show thing where they bring him to a promotion that's having an event, and he checks out the talent, and sometimes he signs them, people he likes, sometimes he doesn't. In this particular instance, Khabib convinced him to come because Khabib owned that promotion. And he told him, there's this guy, Saygid, who's really, really good. You need to see him. You're going to want to sign him. And the guy Saygid was fighting was Carlson Harris. And what happened was Saygid ended up actually getting taken down by Harris, got back up. It was a kind of close fight. And then in the second round, Saygid shot for a sloppy takedown after a little bit of like a scrambling exchange. And Harris got him. I think it was an anaconda. It was a front choke. And Harris submitted him. So Dana ended up signing Harris, not Saygid. Saygid went on to, I think he had 2 more fights in Eagle, and then he went to ONE FC where he had a couple fights, and they were good wins. You know, they were solid wins. Nakashima's a legit guy, a legit grappler. Subbed him. He beat Li Panjang, also a very good fighter. You know, the record's not the prettiest, but the dude is solid. Like, if Zhang was in the UFC, would he be champ? No, but he'd be a middle guy that, you know, does get a lot of wins. And then Shinya Aoki, if you guys know him, he's kind of old now. So it's like not the best win in the world, but even at his age, he's been winning a lot, and he's a very good grappler. So solid competition. But then you guys see here, it's been almost 3 years since he last fought. It's because he was supposed to fight Lee. I don't remember if it was, I think it was Christian Lee. I always mix them up. There's a couple of the siblings there, but they had a tragedy in the family, so that fight fell off. And then Saygid's contract with ONE FC was done. So he kind of just stopped, and he was waiting for the UFC opportunity. He knew it was coming. I'm assuming he's managed by Ali, so he knew he was going to get signed. It was just a matter of when. From what I can tell, he was in the gym the whole time. So that's where he's been at, and that's why he's been out. And that's kind of like a little background on who he is, because he did kind of come out of nowhere. And then you guys all know who Dalby is. I don't have to explain Nicolas Dalby. The dude is a vet. He's the guy who brings the fight every single time. He's an absolute dog. He never quits. He's always got in close fights unless you're finishing him. But he is getting to the point where he's 41 years old. The durability is starting to go. Randy Brown, first guy to hand him a knockout. People say it's the first time he ever got finished. On paper, yes, but not really. Because if you watched the Jesse Ronson fight, I think this is like COVID times or shortly post-COVID. Jesse Ronson, he's a 155er. Who came up to 170 to fight Dalby. I think it was like short notice or something like that. And he rocked Dalby on the feet, and then he submitted him, and then he popped for something, and the win got overturned. So that's why on his record, Dalby, before the Brown fight, had no finish losses, but really he did get submitted before. But anyways, he's a tough guy to beat. He's a guy who can be taken down. He can be controlled, but he will work his way back up to the feet. He won't be easy. And on the feet, he throws a lot of volume, and he's a solid striker. With Saygid, his striking's not my favorite. He does have some work to do still in the striking. Now, again, it's been 3 years, and it does appear that he's been in the lab. He's been training. So he could come in here and he could have way better striking. But from what I've seen and what we know so far, up to the point where he hasn't fought since, his striking's like decent. Like, he's clean. He's technical. You can see that he's doing things correctly, but he's not throwing a lot of volume. He's not stringing together a lot of combinations. You can tell that he's semi-uncomfortable on the feet still, but he is a really good wrestler. He's a very good wrestler. He's a very good grappler. He does have some power on the feet to back it up, and the grappling is just really, really good. I think that a fight that's comparable would be Dalby Fakhretdinov, where, you know, some people felt that Dalby won that fight. Fakhretdinov did get takedowns. He did land some big shots, but he wasn't really able to control Dalby, and Dalby was the one who did the much better work on the feet. But here's the thing, like, first off, I think Saygid's better than Renat on the feet, because it doesn't take a lot to be better than Renat on the feet. Renat hits very hard, but his actual like striking technique is this. You know, he's swinging like this. So it's not hard to be a better striker than him. I also think that Renat on the ground, his control is not all that good, and that's why you're seeing him get so many takedowns in fights, because he needs so many returns. Saygid, I think his control is a lot better, and I think that once Saygid takes someone down, it's very difficult for them to get back up. And I also think he's a lot more of a threat on the ground than Renat in terms of just jiu-jitsu, ground and pound, that kind of thing. So in this fight, I think that Dalby, like, he could win. if Saygid comes out here and really struggles to grapple him, and maybe the ring rust, that's possible. But I think the most likely outcome is that Saygid has a pretty dominant performance, and I think they are giving him a really favorable just situation. They're putting him in Qatar, where we know that the officiating is going to be in his favor. They're giving him a guy who's 41 years old, 10 years older than him, who has been knocked out just last fight, and I don't think it was that long ago, 6 months, and a guy who can be grappled. So we know what the UFC is trying to do here. That doesn't always work out for them. But I think in this particular instance, it is going to work out for them. I do think Saygid's going to win. I think he's going to find a submission. He's going to hand Dalby his first official submission loss, but not his actual first one. And we'll go with round 2. I'll also say that I think Saygid's cardio is better than someone like Renat, because I was comparing them earlier. Let's catch up with the chat, and then we'll move on. We got Jammer in the chat. What's up, Jammer? My guy. What's up, TV dub shows? Calling me coach. Saygid, one of the only guys to submit the current middleweight champ, Gasanov. He's legit, bro. Am I a coach? No, I'm not a coach. I really want to coach wrestling, high school wrestling. I've been trying to find some high schools to let me come in and help them out, but haven't had much luck there. But I do want to do it. I used to wrestle in high school, and I love it. I miss the mat so much. We love a Dalby pick here. By the way, Ewing was solid. Yeah, Dalby's not for me there, but Ewing was solid. He got a fan in me. Since it's in Qatar, is there a parlay? No. At the end of the day, like you can't just assume it's gonna go that way with the judging. Although I will say it tends to happen that in this region, judges tend to favor the fighters who. Carlson Harris best win, I'd say. I think it happened UAE. Oh, easily his best win. Saygid's easily his best win. It was UAE Warriors, but it was a cross promotion. If you look on Tapology, you'll see it. It was UAE Warriors and Eagle FC, which is the promotion that Habib owned at the time. I don't know if he owns it anymore. Honestly, I feel like he doesn't, but yeah, at the time he did. What's up, John B. Maxwell? Appreciate your support, brother. And thank you. It was really dope being there. That was I've been to, I think, 5 UFC events now. That was by far the best one I've ever been to, by far. Yeah, the co-main and the main event were kind of snoozers, but the rest of the card was really sick. Moving on, we've got Nurullo Aliev versus Shemrock. I don't know how to pronounce his full name. I'm just going to go with the shortened version, Shemrock. Aliev, he's going to be 10-0 undefeated, 24 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Rock, he's 12-1-1. He's 32 years old, 6 feet tall, so he's going to be 2 inches taller, and we don't have his reach. So he's coming from the same gym as guys like Patty, like another guy we're going to be talking about soon, Luke Riley, also on this card. And Shem is good. Like he's a good fighter. I just feel like the decision making here from the UFC doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because Shem was like a hype signing, right? He wasn't like a Dana White's Contender Series guy. He was the guy they signed from the regional scene. I believe it was Octagon. They signed him. There was a lot of hype because a lot of us have, we watch Octagon, we bet on it, we know him. A lot of us are familiar with him. And he was a hype signing. He had a lot of hype behind him, especially in Europe, in the UK. And it's just weird because I feel like they're probably paying him pretty well, because I know that Octagon does pay well. So if he left now, I think they're probably paying him decent. And they're probably going to want to build him. So why would you give him a 24-year-old wrestler, a good one, undefeated guy, in a place where the officiating is going to favor the other guy and the fans are going to favor the other guy? Why would you send your new prospect there? That's where I'm confused. And it's like, okay, maybe they think Shem is going to win, but why hurt your stock with Aliev? Because Aliev is extremely marketable. For the Russian fans, for Muslim fans, he has 750,000 Instagram followers and only 2 UFC fights. So he's clearly very marketable, and he has a huge fan base. So it wouldn't make sense for them to be setting him up for a loss, but why would they set up Shem for a loss? So overall, like this matchmaking just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But the way it works, like if you guys aren't familiar with Shem, he's a grappler too. I think he's got something like 11 submission wins or like 10 submission wins. The majority of his wins are by submission. He's not much of a striker. In terms of boxing, he almost has nothing really. Like his hands are pretty empty. He's not really using them much. He'll occasionally throw something out there, but not much. The kicks are good. I like his teep kicks a lot. I like the kicks to the body. He'll go to the head. He'll go to the legs, and he's fast with them. But they're very easy to read because he's not setting them up with any semblance of boxing. And a guy like Aliev, right? He's a wrestler. That's all he does. Aliev can't strike either. Aliev's not a good striker whatsoever. He's only got overhands and big hooks. He knows he can't strike. That's why he goes straight for the takedowns. Like if they were to kickbox, it would probably be a really weird kickboxing match because it would be Shem throwing teep kicks and it would be Aliev throwing overhands, and that would be the fight. But Aliev really just uses it to set up the takedowns. And my concern is what happens if Aliev catches a kick and takes down Shem, and then Shem spends the entire round on his back. Going into the next round, is he going to be too scared to throw kicks? Because then he has nothing left. He doesn't have any boxing. He only has the kicks. And if they're getting caught and they're leading to him being taken down, I think that can kind of cause him to collapse a little bit. And the other thing is, I haven't really seen him on his back much, but he is a jiu-jitsu guy, and I have a feeling that if Aliev puts him on his back, he's going to be a little bit too happy to play off of his back. He did get put on his back a few times against Korkmish. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but another guy who on the regionals with not the prettiest record, but he's good. And, you know, he did get it back up pretty quickly, but that guy doesn't really have the control that Aliev does. Aliev has pretty good control on the ground. So I do have a concern here that if Shem gets taken down, which I feel like he probably will at least a couple times, I'm worried he's going to get stuck, you know, and where he's most comfortable is when he can take guys down and get on their back. He's kind of a rear naked choke merchant. That's his thing. Like the majority of his wins are by rear naked choke. And I just kind of struggle to see him do it here. So like on one hand, I do still kind of want to back him because he's like plus 240. I'm not high on Aliev's game whatsoever. And I think that he could present some problems if he can get his own grappling going, or maybe take the back in a scramble, or maybe land those teep kicks. They don't get caught and he's able to drain the gas tank of Aliev, because Aliev does slow down. His round threes aren't pretty. Not against Alves, not against Joe Selecki. Like he's not super, I wouldn't say that his cardio is amazing. And the other thing with Aliev is his wrestling is very good and his control is very good, but he's not doing a lot with it. He's not causing damage with ground and pound. He's not threatening a lot of submissions. The majority of his wins are decisions. And if this was anywhere else in the world, I would be making a damage versus control argument, because I can see like Shem, even if he's on his back, maybe he's throwing up elbows, or maybe he's throwing up like triangles, like threatening things. And on the feet, he lands the bigger kicks because Aliev really doesn't throw much else, much of anything. So anywhere else, I would say like maybe we can make the damage versus control argument. But again, we're in Qatar. They're going to favor Aliev in all semblances of officiating. And I feel like that's not going to be a problem here. Like I feel like if Aliev just takes him down and doesn't do anything at all with it, that's going to be fine. They're still going to grade it. They're still going to score it, and they're going to give the rounds to Aliev. And, you know, at 24 years old also, he still has a lot of room for improvement. He's training at Killcliff, which is a great camp. I do like that for him. It's going to get his striking better. They got great striking coaches there. So I have to go with Aliev. It's a really tough debut for Shem. I'm surprised that they put him in this situation, but yeah, that's the way I'm going. I wouldn't bet on him at this number just because of the things I said. Lack of striking on the ground, just doesn't do damage and doesn't submit people. So he's kind of just a lay and pray, and I don't want to lay chalk on a lay and pray guy against somebody in Shamrock who I do respect and do think has a lot of skills. But I ultimately think that in this kind of matchup, Aliev should get it done. Next up, we've got Ryan Loder versus Ismail Naurdiev. Loder 7-2-0, 34 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. Naurdiev 24-8-0. He's 29. He's going to be 5 years younger, but he's got a lot more experience. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's got a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So, interesting fight. Naurdiev is a guy who just, his fight IQ is so horrible. There's two guys on this card who have really bad fight IQ, and it just so happens that they both fought at UFC Baku, and it just so happens that I had money on one of them. It wasn't Naurdiev. I almost bet Naurdiev against Park, but I didn't, thank God. But like this guy, man, He's lighting Park up on the feet. Why are you grappling with him? Why? Every time you try to grapple with him, Park somehow ends up on top. Why are you still trying to grapple with him? You're so much sharper on the feet. Nurdiev's striking is actually really nice. Like his combinations, his boxing, his body work, it's really clean. But like he makes unforced errors, like grappling when he doesn't need to. And he also really slows down. And he'll slow down one of two ways or both ways. He'll slow down if he's grappling, which again, why are you grappling then when you're the better striker, but you know grappling makes you tired? Why are you grappling? That's one. And the other thing is, the forward pressure. He does not like forward pressure. It makes him tired. It gasses him out, and he gets really uncomfortable. Now, a guy like Park, he does forward pressure, and he's got the boxing to back it up. Ryan Loder doesn't really have the striking to kind of make people scared and make people concerned about what's coming back their way and make them want to back up. But I do think that if he's just lumbering forward, because he is a little bit stocky and a little flat-footed, but if he's lumbering forward and he's trying to at least put Naurdiev back on his back foot, and, he's going to be southpaw. Naurdiev hasn't faced a lot of southpaws. I think it's going to make him a little bit uncomfortable. And he does have solid body kicks. He's got a solid straight left hand. If he just uses that to close the distance and try to back up Naurdiev, that will make Naurdiev uncomfortable. And then where I think Loder can have a lot of success outside of the wrestling, which I'll touch on in a second, is the clinch. I think Loder is going to be stronger in the clinch here. I think he's quite strong in the clinch. And I think that if he can just close the distance, take away that, because Naurdiev is much faster and much slicker on the feet, right? In the boxing in particular. If Loder can take that away and just clinch up with him, that's going to slow down Naurdiev because he's wearing on him. And if he mixes in some clinch knees too, that's going to help. And that's also going to take away the threat of the striking from Naurdiev. And then I think once he starts to do that and he starts to wear on him, and then he can start to mix in takedowns. On one hand, even if Naurdiev is not tired, I don't think his takedown defense is amazing. It's pretty good, but I don't think it's amazing. And Loder is a really good wrestler. So if he's already in the clinch and then he drops low, I think he will get Naurdiev down. And then the other thing is Naurdiev might initiate the grappling himself and then end up on his back. We've seen that before, and I would not be shocked whatsoever if he did it now. He shot against Sean Brady, of all people. Just to give you an idea of his fight IQ. So for me personally, I got to go with Loder here. I think he's got the better cardio. I think he's got a lot of wrestling upside. I think that he's got the skills that he needs, or the tools that he needs to make Naurdiev uncomfortable. And the only way Loder here really looks like a terrible bet is if he just stands there at distance with Naurdiev for 15 minutes and strikes with him. But even then, it's hard to imagine Naurdiev just cleanly striking for 15 minutes, because usually he does something to mess it up and he'll try to wrestle or something like that. And I just think Loder's going to get it done. That's the way I'm leaning. I like him at plus money. Going to go Loder decision, and we can move on. My guy Dravi in the chat. What's up, my brother? All right, moving on. We got Bekzat Almakhan versus Aleksandre Topuria. Almakhan, he's going to be 12-2-0, 28 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. On the other side, Topuria, 6-1-0. He's 29. He's 1 year older. Going to be the same height, and he's going to have the same reach. Really fun fight. Really fun fight. I think it's one of the better fights on the card, one of the more competitive fights on the card. And I think you can make a solid case for either guy. I think that with Bekzat, you have a guy who had a tough debut because they gave him Umar Nurmagomedov of all people, and he still came out there and rocked Umar in the first round. After that, he got taken down every single time Umar tried. So 5 for 5 Umar went, which is not a great look. I know that it's Umar. It's semi-forgivable, but also like 5 of 5 is kind of rough. But he did get up twice, so that's good. And he showed that he's like very explosive, because one of the times he got up, Umar was straight up in full mount, and Bekzat just kind of exploded and got back up. He's very explosive. That's the thing with him, both on the feet and in the grappling. He's a very explosive guy. And then against Katona, he showed really sharp striking. Now Katona, up there in age, smaller guy, a guy who's taken a lot of damage over his career, and Bekzat kind of got him. But like, you have to give him credit. Like, the power is clearly legit. Bekzat clearly hits really hard, and also the way he hit that uppercut, that was just super sharp, super accurate. And he's well-rounded. He can wrestle offensively too. You have to go back to his regionals to see it, but he does wrestle. He wrestles quite a bit. His control is not the best, but it's pretty good. He's not the best submission grappler, but he can threaten it a little bit. he's a well-rounded fighter. He's young still. He's 28 years old. He's at American Top Team, which is a great camp for a guy like him. They're really good at consolidating the top control, starting to do damage. That's something they're getting really good at. And he's definitely a threat for Topuria. You know, he's going to hit harder than Topuria. He's more explosive than Topuria. I think he might be more athletic than Topuria. And he can probably match him in most aspects. But at the same time, I feel like people are kind of running to fade Topuria because everybody loves the there's always one good sibling, one bad sibling narrative. And honestly, it's a narrative that tends to be correct more times than it's wrong. I can't really think of a time that it's been wrong. It's almost always right. There's almost always a good sibling and a bad sibling. But Topuria, this Topuria is good too. Now, it's not his younger brother. It's actually his older brother. They made their MMA debuts at the same card at the same time. And he's just fought a lot less. I'm not sure why exactly, but he's also really good. I don't think he's nearly as good as his brother. I don't think he's going to be a champion, but I do think he's good. And personally, I think that he's better than Bekzat just about everywhere. I don't think that he's got the same, you know, he's not as explosive. He's not as powerful. I think those things go to Bekzat, but in terms of who's the cleaner striker, I'm pretty confident it's Topuria. I know that not everybody loved his performance against Thick Ness, but I thought it was a really clean performance. He showed really nice defense, way better defense than anything we've seen from Bekzat. He's very smart. He fights smart. He's got a nice jab. Everything is straight down the pipe. Good combinations. He'll go to the body very nicely. He's got good leg kicks, good body kicks. And he's just a very smart, intelligent fighter. I would love if he was a little bit more aggressive and threw a little bit more volume. But I do think he's a cleaner, more technical striker. And I think he's going to be the one who's more defensively sound. And I also kind of think that he's the better wrestler. Now, I don't have a ton to base that off of because all his fights prior to the Thick Ness fight were kind of low level. But just from looking at it and watching the two of them, I do think that Topuria has the better offensive wrestling. And I lean towards him being the guy who has an easier time taking down his opponent than Bekzat taking him down. I think that if anybody's getting a lot of takedowns, I think it's Topuria. If either of these guys is getting a lot of top control, I think it's going to be Topuria. So that's kind of the way I lean. I just lean towards him being a little cleaner everywhere, a little bit more technical everywhere. And for those reasons, I'm going to go with Topuria here. I don't have a bet on it yet. I kind of wanted plus money, and it was there for a second. I just hadn't taped it yet. But I am going to pick him. It's a good fight. I can understand picks on both sides. You can very well make an argument that, you know, Topuria has not fought a guy like this. Topuria has not faced power like this. Topuria has not faced a guy who could probably match him almost everywhere. It's a great argument to be made for Almakhan, but Almakhan's like the slight favorite here, and I personally think that's an incorrect line. So for me, it's Topuria. I think he gets it done by decision. So this next fight, I have not gotten to tape yet. In full transparency, some of these fights I haven't taped yet. Some of them I've taped a little bit, but haven't finished. So far, everything we talked about, I taped 100%. But this fight, I have not. But here we have Kyoji Horiguchi finally coming back to the UFC, I think after, 10 years, against Tagir Ulanbekov. Horiguchi, 34-5-0, 35 years old, 5'5" with the 65.5-inch reach. Tagir, 17-2-0. He's 34. He's 1 year younger, going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. So, again, I'm pre-tape. And pre-tape, I do have some interest in Horiguchi at this number just because I know that Horiguchi is also very legit, and he's elite, and he's one of the best flyweights in the world. And I think that he can match Tagir in most places. I think he can match him in the striking. I think that he's also a pretty good grappler in his own right, and he's also a good defensive grappler. But that hasn't been so much the case lately, and he has been on a decline for sure. The durability is definitely starting to go. So we'll see where I'm at after tape. But as of now, I'll go with the guy who I think is more durable, is the better wrestler, probably a little bit more dangerous definitely more dangerous on the ground. And I kind of like Kyoji striking better, but I don't think that it's a huge margin. And I don't think that I honestly think there's going to be a lot of wrestling, so I don't think they're going to strike much. So I'll lean Tagir for now, but again, that's pre-tape. Next up, we've got Abdulrakhman Yakhyaev versus Raffael Cerqueira. Yakhyaev 7-0, undefeated, 24 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Cerqueira 11-3-0. He's going to be 35 years old, going to be 6'3", so he's 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'm not going to waste time here. Yakhyaev is a tremendous favorite. I think that it makes sense. I think he's going to run through Cerqueira. I think Cerqueira has absolutely nothing for him. He doesn't have the power to stop him. He doesn't have the counter grappling to stop any grappling. Yakhyaev is a better striker. He's got more power. He's much cleaner everywhere. He's a way better grappler. He's a way better submission grappler. He should smoke him. I think he's going to win by sub. I think it's going to be early. And that's all I'm going to say there. Cerqueira is just not it. He's not it at all. Like the guy against Aslan and Bekzat, he showed that if you get his back to the fence, he doesn't know what to do. Like clearly just does not know what to do when his back's against the cage. And against Walker, like I respect Walker. I think he's got a good future. He's a really tough guy. He's learning on the job. But like he had nothing for Walker either. And Walker is like a debutant, somebody new to the UFC, and you had no response whatsoever. So Yakhyaev should cook him, and we won't waste time. This is a sick fight, though. Definitely tape this one. We've got Luke Riley versus Bogdan Grad. Luke Riley, 11-0, undefeated, 26 years old, 5'9". We don't have his reach. Grad on the other side, 15-3-0. He's 30. He's 4 years older. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's got a 70-inch reach. So I have a bad taste in my mouth about Grad because I played him as an underdog against Naimov in a fight that he 100% could have won, but he just made these stupid errors. In round 3, dude, you're in a bad position to take the back. You ended up too high. Let it go. Let it go and try to just drag him down. Instead, he stays there and he ends up on his back and then ends up losing the fight. In a fight that he 100% could won. He was the better wrestler. He was a competitive striker, but poor fight IQ. And that's that. Grad is a guy who, in general, he's a guy who I'm willing to back as an underdog because he's got that dog in him. Regardless of whether he's outskilled or whatever, he will always fight. He won't quit. He'll bring it every time. He'll pressure forward. Usually he sets a pretty good pace, not so much in the Naimov fight, but he tries to set a good pace, and he's a guy who brings it. And it's a guy that at plus money, I like to back them. And he's durable. He's tough. He's got some power on the feet too, but I just really don't like the fight IQ. And even though he has a clear path here that I'm going to talk about in a second, I don't really trust him to follow that game plan. On the Luke Riley side, he's a guy that a lot of us have been hype about for a while. He's fighting over in Cage Warriors. He's doing very well. He's a sick striker. I really like his striking. The way he sets up his angles, the hand speed is ridiculous. The combinations are really, really nice. He'll go to the body. He'll come upstairs. Then all of a sudden he's mixing in a knee. And then by the time you're reacting to the knee, he's coming back upstairs. He's always throwing. He's got a lot of output. And he's just a really, really nice striker. Like, I like his striking a lot. And he's a way cleaner striker than Grad. If Grad stands there for some reason, and Grad very well might do this, that's part of the problem of why I haven't backed him, even though I think he has a path. If Grad just stands there with him, like, Riley's going to tee off. He will. And while Grad doesn't have cardio issues, if Riley's ripping to the body, that might become a problem down the line. It really might. Now, the path for Grad, I think there's two, and I think he kind of has to mix them. The first one is I think that Riley's not very strong in the clinch. I don't think he's the most physical guy at this weight class. And Grad is physical, whether that's just pure muscle or if he's on really good vitamins or a little bit of both. He's a very strong man, and he's very strong in the clinch. And, you know, if he starts to back up Riley and maybe even try to be a little bit like Loof did in their fight and land big shots and then try to close the distance, I think he can have success. You know, pressure forward, throw heat to kind of dissuade him a little bit from going too hard on his combinations, close the distance, push him against the fence, and clinch. Make that fight boring. Throw knees. I think that could be a really good weapon for him that can slow down Riley, that can take away Riley's best weapon, which is the striking at range or in the pocket, striking in general, take that away from him. I think that's a really important step for Grad, and one way he can win this fight. And then the other way is he can probably out-wrestle Riley. Now, I'm a little torn on the whole Riley takedown defense thing because leading up to before I taped the fight, I was talking to people, listening to stuff, and everybody's talking about how horrible Riley's takedown defense is. And I've watched him before, and I didn't really remember. So I was like, okay, like this must be really bad. And like I watched this fight first, the Abasov fight, and Abasov took him down. He couldn't control him at all. Like he got back up pretty much every single time, and As the fight extended, Avasov was not able to get those takedowns. But that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Like, he did not face grappling here. Not here. Not here. Loof was trying to kill him, and he almost did. Loof was winning that fight before Riley came back. Not here. Like, he hasn't really been grappled. It's just that last fight that people are like, oh, he can't grapple. And I get it. Like, people want to fade Cage Warriors. Everybody hates Cage Warriors. Everybody thinks their prospects are fake, blah, 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 blah. But realistically, his takedown defense doesn't seem that bad to me. I do still think he can be taken down. And I think that Grad is a good wrestler, and he's also very physical and strong. So he could bring Riley to the ground. And while I think Riley's get-ups are pretty good, I could see Grad keeping him there. I just feel like I can't see Grad doing a ton with it. Like, Grad will throw really good ground and pound, but that's going to open up opportunities for Riley to get back out. And Grad's not one of these guys who's going to lock in a submission while he's scrambling. Like, that's not him. They're going to end up back on the feet where Riley's sharper. So I'm like considering a shot on Grad, and I'm putting this fight on like my list of fights I need to retape and look at again. And it's definitely dog or pass. Like, I'm not going to lay chalk on Riley on his debut as good as I think he is. But I am going to lean his way for now, just because I have a hard time seeing Grad sticking to the game plan he needs to follow here. And while I can see him kind of swamping Riley here down the stretch, I have my doubts. And it's just hard for me to trust him after the last time I did with Naimov. But we'll see. We'll see. I might end up doing it anyways. I need to come back to it with a fresh mind. Next up, we've got Alex Perez versus Asu Almabayev. Perez, 25-9-0, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 65.5-inch reach. Asu on the other side, 22-3-0. He's 31. He's 2 years younger, going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have the same reach. So this is a tricky fight. I didn't fully tape this one, full transparency, but I did tape it a little bit. So I've always liked Asu. I'm pretty high on him. I do think that his striking is green and he needs some work still. And at 31, he doesn't have a ton of time to do it, but he's a serviceable striker and he's a very good wrestler. His wrestling is good. His top control is good. Ground and pound is okay. He's not the best submission grappler, but he's solid. He could threaten the subs. And he's just a very good wrestler. He knows what he's good at and he goes for it. He doesn't stand around and try to strike with guys that he knows he can't strike with. He's going to put his best foot forward to bring the fight where he's most comfortable. Now with Perez, I think Perez has all the tools he needs to win the fight. He's a better striker. He hits harder. He's a good wrestler in his own right. He's got great takedown defense. He's a very good counter grappler, and he's the bigger guy. The problem is he's been riddled with injuries. It's very hard to trust his body at this point. He's pulled out of more fights than I think he's had in the UFC, and I think it's actually by a margin. I kind of want to go look. All right, let's start from the beginning, yeah? So 1 UFC fight, 2 UFC fights, 3 UFC fights, 4 UFC fights, 5. Then we got 1 canceled fight, 6 UFC fights, 2 canceled fights, 7 UFC fights, 3 canceled fights, 8 UFC fights, 4 canceled fights, 5 canceled fights, 6 canceled fights, 7 canceled fights, 8, 9. So 9 canceled fights, 8 fights that happened. Then a 9th fight happened against Pantoja. Then another 3 canceled fights. So that's 12-9. Then he has 2 more fights. So that's 11-12. Another canceled fight, 11-13. Then he fights Tyra, gets injured. So that's 12-14. And then he gets another canceled fight. So he's got more canceled fights than actual UFC fights. And a lot of them are him pulling out. A lot of them. The Steve Ercik fight, he pulled out. The Tagir Ulanbekov fight, they got rebooked. Cop fight, Perez pulled out. Kai Kara France fight, that was Kai. The Amir Albazi fight, that was Perez who withdrew. Oscarov withdrew. Against Schnell, it was Perez missed weight. I remember that one. Then before that, Schnell withdrew with medical issues. Before that, it was also them, but it got rescheduled. Then there was the first time they were booked and Perez withdrew against Moreno. Perez got rebooked. you guys get my point. And then against Pettis and his cancel fight there, it was also a Perez injury. He's been riddled with injuries. It's a constant with him. And it's just like, can I trust him? Now, don't get me wrong. With the right line, I'll trust him. Because I think there's a very valid argument for him. As high as I am on Asu's a wrestler. And Alex Perez is a guy who's also a wrestler and has very good counter grappling. And if he can keep it on the feet, I think he's better. It's just, is his body going to hold up? That's the big thing. And I don't know the answer to that question. So I know right now he's sitting at like plus 170. I think you can make a lot worse bets than that one. But I personally need a little bit better of a number to get interested because, first off, we don't even know if Perez is going to make it to the fight. And second off, I just don't know if I can trust him at this point. Like, I don't know if his body's all there. So as of now, we're going to go Asu decision, but it's definitely dog or pass from a betting perspective. Next up, we have Sergey Spivak versus Shamil Gaziev. Sergey Spivak, he's 17-6-0, 30 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. On the other side, we've got Gaziev, 14-1-0. He's 35 years old. He's 5 years older. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a half-inch reach advantage. Before I start this fight, hold on. Come and get it, bro. Dogfather pulled up to my house and forgot his hat. Dude, you have such a tiny head. This thing does not fit me. Look at this. How are you like 8 feet tall, but you have the tiniest head? That's crazy. I do have to give him his hat back. But all right. As for this fight, so honestly, I haven't taped this one yet. Somehow this turned into a Twitter war and MMA space war where people are actually really passionate about both sides. And maybe once I tape it, I'm gonna feel how they feel and I'll agree with them. But right now, pre-tape, I'm just like, why would I want to get involved in this fight? You know, on one hand, Sergey Spivak, if you come at him with pressure and big power, he's gonna fall apart. And on the other hand, if Gaziev doesn't get you out of there, he's minutes into the fight. So I'm not really dying to play the fight. Again, maybe after I tape it, I'll feel confident on the side and I'll be like, oh, this line's wide or this line's not wide enough. Maybe. Personally, I lean towards Gaziev just because I feel like Spivak's not going to be able to handle the early onslaught. And I just think that Gaziev hits a lot harder. And I don't think Gaziev's going to be easy for Spivak to wrestle. And for Spivak to be comfortable, he needs to wrestle. And I also don't trust Spivak. Like, I had money on him against Waldo. What the hell was that performance? He shot some takedowns, sure, but he barely tried. Most of it was literally him standing like this and just walking forward, flat-footed, walking forward. That was it. And he was just getting boxed up, just walking forward like this. You know, I thought that was a terrible performance by him in a fight that he 100% should have won. Like, he probably should have gotten the decision anyway, but like, that was an extremely winnable fight for him. And he fought like a moron and lost it. Jailton Almeida knocking him out and hurting him. I mean, whatever. But I don't really like, I like backing Spivak. I've done it plenty of times, but it's in certain spots and in certain situations. And do I want to back him against a guy who's going to pressure him, going to throw heat? And I mean, look at Gaziev. What a boss. You know, do I want to get in front of that aura? Not really. So pre-tape, it's Gaziev for me. I'm going to say he's going to overwhelm Spivak and get him out of there. But I got to tape it still. All right, this fight, what the heck are we doing here? Literally, what the heck are we doing here? We got Jack Hermansson versus Miktikbek Orobai. Hermansson, 24-9-0, 37 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. On the other side, Orobai, 14-2-1, 27. He's 10 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So, for anybody who's not familiar, Jack Hermansson is a career 185er, a middleweight. He has never made 170 before. He gets brutally knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez 4 months ago. And he has the bright idea of, you know what? I know the answer. I'm going to go down and wait. he was already inactive as heck. You know, before the Grad fight, 1 month and 1 year and 5 months before that, then the Dolidze fight before that. Like, you see this, like he's been quite inactive. Then he comes back and like, yeah, he looks okay against Grad before the knockout. Like, he had his moments, he did pretty well on the feet, but like he got brutally knocked out 4 months ago. Now he's gonna cut a big amount of weight, 15 pounds, all the way down to 170. For what reason? That's not going to help your durability, that's for sure. We're not even sure that he's going to make the weight. And then Oralbai's a 155er. So you have a guy who fights at 155 in the UFC, fighting a guy who fights at 185 in the UFC, a 30-pound difference, meaning in a weight class that neither of them fights in. Oralbai at least has fought at welterweight before, and he's done relatively well, not against the highest level of competition, but he has. He's at least fought at welterweight. But you have two guys who are 3 weight classes apart, or I guess 2 weight classes apart. And why make this matchup? Like, there's way better ways to build Oralbai, because if Hermansson makes this weight cut, he's a tough matchup for Oralbai. Like, you put aside the age for a second, and if you assume that the weight cut goes well, which it probably won't, he can beat Oralbai. Like, Oralbai is not a better striker than him. Hermansson's a better striker. Oralbai is probably not a better wrestler than him. Hermansson's a good wrestler. Oralbai will not have an easy time taking down Hermansson. Nobody does. And Oralbai won't have an easy time controlling Hermansson, because nobody does. So it just doesn't make a ton of sense. You have a guy in Oralbai who has a ton of hype. Everybody loves him. I love him. And then you're bringing him up to 170, not his weight class, to fight a guy who's not even in the 170 weight class, who's one above. Just none of it makes sense. And I feel like this fight's not going to happen. Like, I was taping it, trying to find like an angle and, make a bet and have a read or see if there was a bet to make. And I was thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? This fight's probably not even going to happen. And even if it does, why get involved? There's so many questions. Like, if Hermansson is completely drained, Oralbai can just knock him out, and he probably will. If he somehow makes the cut really well at 37, he could beat Oralbai. He 100% could beat Oralbai. So why would I get involved? It's just such a weird fight. I think it's going to get canceled. Apparently, Justin Burlinson, if you guys aren't familiar, he's a Cage Warriors guy. He fought in the Contender Series against Johan Lainez, got knocked out. Apparently, he's been talking on Instagram how he's flying in case they need somebody as a replacement. And the only one that can make any sense would be for him to replace Hermansson. So I have a feeling that by Saturday, we're not seeing Jack Hermansson versus Mikdekbek Oralbai. We're probably seeing Justin Burlinson versus Mikdekbek Oralbai in a fight where I definitely am picking Oralbai to win. But in this matchup, I'll pick Oralbai. We'll go KO, assuming Hermansson, if he does make the weight, the chin's probably shot. And we'll go KO too. Let's see what the chat's talking about, and then we're going to move on. He's talking about the Hermansson fight. I mean, yeah, I don't know what they did. I really, usually I try to put myself in the matchmaker's shoes, because that's the dream job, being a matchmaker. So I try to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And most of the time, you can make some sense of it. That one, I can't make any sense of it. Unless Oralbai told them, like, hey, guys, I can't make 55 anymore. I need to go to 70. And they're like, okay, how do we give him a hot start in 70? Like, not just a fight he can win, but a fight that will give him, some hype, because Hermansson is a big name. That's like the only kind of thing I can think of. But I don't really take Oralbai as a guy who can't make 55. From what I understand, he makes the cut fine. It's a tough cut for him, but he doesn't. So I'm not sure. I guess we're going to have to see and find out and maybe get some answers, but weird fight. But all right, moving on. We've got Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menefield. Oezdemir is going to be 28-0. He's going to be 36 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Menefield on the other side, 17-5-1. He's 38. He's 2 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So this is a fight where I haven't fully taped it. I briefly looked at it just to get an idea. I mean, obviously, anybody who watches and has been watching for a long time. We know these guys very, very well. You still have to tape. Sometimes you forget things. Sometimes you remember things differently. I taped it a little bit. I need to go back and look at this one more. But it's kind of a levels fight. I think that Oezdemir is better than Menifield everywhere, except just pure athleticism and maybe power. Maybe Menifield, in terms of just who hits harder straight up, I think it's probably Menifield, and he is the more athletic guy, maybe the more physical guy. Maybe he'll be stronger in the clinch. But Oezdemir is the cleaner striker. Oezdemir is a better grappler. Oezdemir is the bigger guy. Oezdemir competes with the better competition. Oezdemir had a great performance against Oberg. Menifield, not so much when he fought Oberg. If you want to do some MMA math, like I understand why Oezdemir is the favorite. It's just for me personally, even though he did look good against Oberg in a loss, like I do feel like he's declining a little bit, and I do like. I know that Menifield's older, but Menifield's kind of still just like this pain in the butt to deal with, and he's still, I guess, it's just like an aggressive presence in the octagon. And I do worry a little bit about it for Oezdemir, but I think Oezdemir's better everywhere. Once I tape it, maybe I'll be a lot more confident. But right now, we're going to go Oezdemir. I'll go Oezdemir decision. You guys know me. If I can't pick a method, I'm just going to go decision. Here, let me pull this back up for the comments, and then we'll move on. There's a 10 years age gap. Ask a casual. That's true. Most people would probably pick Oral by 6'9", talking about Wellmaker. Happens, man. Which fight? In the Oezdemir fight? How so? All right, moving on. We have our co-main event of the evening, and it's another welterweight matchup, just an absolutely stacked weight. Like, what a weight class. You know, at the top, you have Izagakhmaev, pound for pound #1 right now. You have JDM still, who I understand he just got beat clean by Islam, but he's still one of the best in the division, still very young. He's not going nowhere. He's like 28 years old. You have Ian Gary and Bilal, who are fighting now. Bilal, I think, is probably going to start to fall out of the rankings a little bit. But I don't think Gary's going anywhere. He's elite. You got Prates in the wings. You got Michael Morales, even though Sean Brady just lost. But again, he's young. He's not going anywhere. He's still going to be at the top of the division. Maybe not champ, but he's going to be at the top of the division. Now they brought in Saygid. That's another guy who I think will make a splash at welterweight. It's just a crazy, crazy stacked division. And here we go. We got Ian Gary versus Bilal Muhammad. Bilal is going to be 24-4-0. He's 37 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Gary 16-1-0. He's going to be 28, so he's going to be 9 years younger. He's going to be 4 inches taller, and he's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. So I like Gary. I've always loved Bilal as an underdog. Usually, if Bilal's a dog, I'm betting him. That's almost always been the case for me. I backed him against Leon. That was a beautiful hit. I backed him against Burns. I backed him against Sean Brady. When he's the underdog, I like to back him because he's a guy who brings it. He's a guy who knows what he's good at, or did know what he was good at. He's starting to kind of fall from that. But he's a guy who could grapple most people, could defend takedowns from most people, was a serviceable striker. He's getting a little bit better. And he's just a guy who would grind and work hard. And I was always a big fan and always willing to back a guy like that at plus money. And now he's the underdog again, but I'm not willing to do it anymore. Not at this point. He's 37 years old. And like the Jack Della Maddalena fight was still, semi-impressive because he did compete. He did land like 130 significant strikes on Jack on the feet. He won the 4th round on the feet. The 1-2 down the pipe was there for him all day long against Jack. But the thing with Jack is Jack's a boxer, right? How does Jack defend against shots? High guard, and he rolls with the shots. You can still land on a guy like that. Gary's different. Gary's a range management footwork guy. That's how he works his defense. And Bilal's not going to have that 1-2 down the pipe. He's just not going to. Just logistically speaking, he's going to have to close the distance a lot before he can even land the 1-2. And by then, Ian Gary's probably already landed a shot of his own and gotten out of there. So for me, I like Gary here. I know people don't like him for various reasons, but I think he's extremely talented. I think he's got a really bright future in the division. I thought the Shafkat loss was still a good performance. That showed me that he does have great takedown defense, fantastic counter grappling. I think that while Belal is a good wrestler, I don't think that Belal's control is very good. I don't think that Belal is much of a threat on the ground. He can win minutes by keeping you there, if he can keep you there. But he's not a guy who's landing damage, really. He's not a guy who's submitting guys. So even if he does take Gary down, first off, I think Gary's going to get right back up. If Gary doesn't get back up, I just don't think that Belal's really going to do enough to win the rounds unless all that happened was control. So personally, I feel like Gary's got him covered. Like, I feel like Gary's just a much cleaner striker. He's working in a big cage here. He's going to be able to use his footwork. He's going to be able to use his movement. He's going to manage his range. And he's just going to, I think he's going to clean up on Belal on the feet, and he's just going to outpoint him. It won't be the most exciting performance. Belal will definitely fight. Belal will definitely, make an effort and a good one. But I personally think that it's not going to be enough, and I think Gary's going to get it done. I think Gary gets it done by decision. I think this is stylistically a good matchup for Gary because there's just not much of any, like, there's the threat of him losing if Belal can get the wrestling going, but there's no real power threat and there's no real submission threat. So for me, I think this is a solid Gary spot. I think Gary by decision makes sense. I think, if you wanted to parlay the chalky fight goes, I don't hate that. I probably wouldn't, but I don't hate it. If you wanted to parlay Gary, I don't mind it. I think he should get it done. I'll never fully count out Belal. He could 100% get an upset against most guys, but I think that this is a tough matchup for him. Now, just to keep us a little in check, we should remember where these fights are. And Belal is 100% going to be favored by the crowd, by the officiants, by everybody. So we could see a robbery, but fingers crossed Gary makes it clear enough where that doesn't happen. All right, let's see what we got in the chat, and then we're going to move on to the main event. Am I an armchair expert? Dude, no. I'm a couch expert. I'm not the armchair warrior. I'm the couch warrior. There's also that rebel without a cause looking dude. I think he was one highest level guys. Welterweight champion. Alvidrez. I think we need to see a lot more from him before we start saying future champ, but that dude's good. That dude is really good. Gary minus 150 will feed you. Yeah, except first of all, how many people got to actually bet Gary at minus 150? And also, how are you going to feed generations with $250 limits? Probably not going to feed many generations, I'll tell you. Yeah, I mean, unless you hammered the openers at low limits, you didn't get minus 150. If Gary beats Belal, he should fight Islam. The thing is, Gary's probably not going to finish Belal, so it's not going to be exciting. And I think what I think they're going to do, I'm pretty certain because of the dynamics here. And from what I'm seeing already, they're going to do Usman Islam. I think it's the most undeserved title shot in a really long time, but they're going to do it. I think that's what they're going to do because Islam's calling for it because he knows it's easy. Ali is calling for it because Ali knows Usman is also his client and it's a double paycheck and he doesn't care who wins. And then you see all of a sudden guys who never talk about this stuff but are managed by Ali, like Farid Basharat, are coming out and making arguments of why Kamaru Usman should be next. You have Henry Cejudo today dropping a hype video of why it should be Kamaru Usman fighting next. They're gonna do Usman next. I don't think they're trying to challenge Islam. I don't. I think they're gonna do a legacy building exercise. They're gonna give him Usman. He's gonna beat Usman, and then he's maybe gonna do one more and he's gonna get out of there. That's what I think. I don't think he's gonna stick around for long because I don't think he wants to fight these guys. And I mean, I understand him. He solidified his legacy as one of the greatest. So why take those unnecessary risks? Like Kamaru Usman is a way less threatening fight than Michael Morales. Usman can maybe make Islam's life difficult in the grappling, but Islam will cook him on the feet, and Islam can out-grapple Usman. I'm pretty confident in that, especially with his blasted knees. Now, Morales, Islam can out-grapple Morales for sure, but that's a lot more interesting because Morales has things Islam doesn't, like tremendous athleticism and size and power. So I rather they do Morales next, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to do Usman next. Yeah, like I said, you got to keep in mind where the fights are happening. Usman dropped to number 8 in the rankings. They don't give a crap about those rankings. Dana hates those rankings. Dana's been trying to replace those rankings with AI forever now. He doesn't care. Watch. You guys will come back and you'll say, Mike, you were right. But all right, moving on to our main event of the evening. We've got Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Arman, he's going to be 22-3-0, 29 years old, 5'7" with a 72.5-inch reach. Hooker on the other side, he's going to be 24-12-0, 35. He's 6 years older. He's going to be, what is it? He's quite a bit taller. 3 inches taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. So I might be biased. So take that with a grain of salt. If you don't agree with the rest of the words that come out of my mouth, might be because I'm biased. But I personally think that Arman is the best 155er. The only question there is, can he beat Ilya? I don't know, but I think he can. I guess when I say I don't know if he will beat Ilya, but I think that he can beat Ilya. And I think that out of the entirety of what's left of the lightweight division and knowing that Islam will never come back down, I think Arman's the only one that gives Ilya a run for his money personally. So I love Arman. I bet on him against Islam before he pulled out of that fight. I was devastated because I really believed that he was going to win that fight. And I just think he's a guy who's been so underrated, and people hate him. Maybe because, he's rich and that upsets some people because they would like that to be them. That's possible. I know some people just don't like his personality. That's fair. He doesn't have the greatest personality, but I like him for his fighting, not for his personality. And maybe some people find him boring, but I don't think he's boring. I think he's an elite wrestler, but a great striker too. I mean, the combination he dispatched Dariush with, I know Dariush doesn't have a great chin, but the combo was sick. And his striking is nice. And we all saw what Charles just did to Mateus Gamrot. Arman was able to neutralize him for the most part. Did he get into a couple of tricky submission attempts? Yeah, he did. It's Charles Oliveira. What did he do? He fought out of them and defended perfectly. So, I think this guy is as good as it gets. I think Arman is really, really good. And one of the only things people still hang on to, you ever see that meme of the guy with the backpack that's ripping and then it's just let it go, bro? That's Arman Tsarukyan getting hurt by Joaquim Silva. People have been clenching onto that Joaquim Silva loss, and not loss, to him getting hurt by Joaquim Silva, to continuously fade him and lose money fading him because, he got hurt by Joaquim Silva. Okay, keep doing that. Let's see how that ends up with you. Now, I will say, I don't think Hooker's the worst bet at this number. I mean, we're talking plus 370 where Hooker is a good striker. He is a dangerous striker. He's going to be very, very competitive with Arman on the feet, 100%, and he has more weapons than Arman does. He's better in the clinch than Arman is, in my opinion. He's definitely got he can win this fight. He could hurt Arman, maybe even knock him out. I don't think he will, but he could hurt Arman. He'll compete on the feet, but I don't think he's going to have an answer for the grappling. The thing with Gamrot is a really, really good chain wrestler. He's really good at taking you down and then continuing to do so because you get back up. Why? Because his control's not good. Gamrot's control has never been good. That's why in all his fights, he's got 5 to 15 takedowns because he can't hold the people down. He has to keep taking them down over and over again. So against Hooker was either able to defend, or when he got taken down, he was able to just get back up and then start to land damage, and he did the more damaging work, and he ended up winning that fight. Some people felt that Gamrot won. I had money on Hooker, so I felt like Hooker won. But he was definitely the side if we're going to talk betting-wise. But he's a tough dude. I just think that here, I think Arman should mop him. Personally, I think Arman should mop him. I think that 5 rounds, Arman's used to 5 rounds. Hooker's done it too. But Hooker hasn't really done it with the grappling pace, whereas Arman has against Gamrot, and he got robbed in that fight. It happens, but he won that fight. I think the majority of us agree. I think that Arman's wrestling is going to be a little bit too much for Hooker. I think he will get the takedowns, and I think unlike Gamrot, he does have good control, and he does have good ground and pound. Does he have the best submissions? No, not really. I'm not really thinking that he's going to sub Hooker, but I do think he's going to win a lot of minutes on the ground, and I think the big thing is that he can also win minutes on the feet. He's not going to be completely out of it on the feet. Does he need to watch out for the kicks and the knees and the clinch of Hooker? Yes. The power, yes, but Arman has really developed his striking, and he's become a really clean striker in his own right. And I just personally think that I consider him a cleaner striker. Not as many weapons, maybe not as much power, but I consider him a cleaner striker. I consider him a much better wrestler. I think he has a significantly better ground game, and I think he's a championship caliber guy, whereas I think that Hooker is a top rankings guy, but not a championship caliber guy. So for me, it's Arman. I don't think he finishes, although I think he can. I think he likely wins a decision. Let's see what the chat is saying. I'll run through my picks one more time, and then we'll get on out of here. We're just over an hour, but 14 fights, we can forgive it. All right, let's see. Yeah, I mean, they definitely shouldn't do it, but they're going to do it. Ali has a lot of sway with the UFC, and I think it's also beneficial for the UFC because if Islam beats Michael Morales, for the hardcores, it'll be like, oh, wow. He beat Michael Morales. He dominated him. Really tough, athletic, huge guy. And Islam still beat him. Like, wow. For casuals, it's going to mean nothing. They barely even know who Michael Morales is. This is probably their first time ever seeing him when he knocked out Sean Brady this past week. So I just feel like for the UFC, they rather build up this legend of Islam, of a guy who just cannot be beat now, and just have him beat up on Usman, throw him one more layup, and let him ride off to the sunset. And I personally think that the Khabib camp is now setting up Saygid to take over 170, and I think they're going to try to lateral in Usman Nurmagomedov to fight in 155, although they also have John Pork there, my guy. But, yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. Would be the most Dan Hooker thing to... I wouldn't say it's highly unlikely. I think he could. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Arman beats Ilya. I don't think Topuria is a physical guy. His boxing. The only thing I'll say is a lot of people don't realize like that Topuria, he's not a boxer by trade. When he made it to the UFC, not because of his boxing, he made it because of his grappling. On the regionals, he was an elite grappler. Then he developed a ridiculous boxing game. And now anybody who's only, tuning in now, I'm not saying it's you, but anyone tuning in now or only learning of him recently, they think he's a striker and they're like, oh, he might not be able to wrestle. Oh, Topuria can wrestle. Arman won't easily out-grapple him, but it would be a really good fight. And I think Arman can beat him. I think Arman's the only lightweight left that could beat him. But unfortunately, you know what they're going to do. They're going to do Topuria Patty to start off 26. If Arman wins this fight, he'll probably get next after that. But it's going to happen like probably like summer 26. How did Usman lose 2 times to Edwards? Last year he was a champ. Now he's on. I mean, the first time he was winning that fight. And if the ref didn't separate them when he shouldn't have separated them, he would have lost. I mean, he would have won that fight. And then Edwards would have never been champ. And the second time was just really unfavorable circumstances to Usman. His knees were chopped. He was coming back from the crazy knockout. It was at Leon's home turf. It was unfavorable circumstances. How do I think Morales versus Prates or Gary plays out? Morales Prates, I like Morales because I think that he matches Prates in the power, but I think that he can actually wrestle Prates also. That's the thing. It's not like a fight where he has to wrestle Prates to win, but he could do both, and because of that, I would pick him over Prates. And then with Gary, it'll be really interesting. Gary's really good at neutralizing guys and taking away their biggest threats, but maybe I'm biased. I would still pick Morales. I think Morales is really, really special, and I think he's something that we haven't seen in a really long time. We're talking about a 26-year-old dude who's not even fully like skill set wise developed, and he's already knocking on the door for a championship because he's just been dominating and looking amazing doing it. Arman decision is my favorite bet. He was coaching Hamzat to a decision. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to talk about it too much, but those decision numbers are nice. Morales kills him. Absolutely kills him. My guy, what's good, bro? Maybe they'll give Ilya and Islam a break and have them fight at the White House. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about the Ilya-Islam fight now, but what weight class? Unless they're willing to either do a catch weight for no belt, or if they're willing to just make a new division and make a new belt altogether at 165, which a lot of us have been asking for forever, but Dana doesn't want to do. I don't know what weight class they would do that. Islam said he's never going back to 55. And bringing Topuria up to 170 is just, that's got to be malpractice. I mean, like, come on, the guy's 5'7". And I think even that might be a little bit generous. Can you imagine Ilya Topuria versus Michael Morales? I'm not saying their skills are far apart, but the size is just going to be, like, Morales can probably just pick him up and spin him like this in circles, like a little kid. So it's just tricky now because Islam has really sat into the move to 170 and he's filled out, and I just don't see him ever making 155 again. And sending Ilya up to 170, just crazy work. Who do you think will take over this division after Islam goes off into the sunset? That's the beauty of the division. I don't know, but there's going to be someone because they're all so good. If I had to bet, like, I think it's going to be Morales because 26 years old, he's already where he's at. Ridiculous athleticism, ridiculous power, and he's skilled too. He's not just athletic and powerful. He's also a good striker and also a good wrestler, and that's going to continue to improve. He's not even in his physical prime technically yet at 26. So we're talking like at 28, 29, maybe even 30, he hits his prime. We're not even there yet, and he's knocking on the door for the title. So I think if anyone takes over, as in becomes a very dominant champ, it's probably Morales. Shavkat is on the cards, but I don't know where Shavkat's at these days. Like, I know he's had really bad things going on in his life, and that's why he's been gone a while. I don't know how he's going to come back. I don't know what his form is going to be. I don't know if he's going to be, a little bit washed. We don't know. Shavkat could be one of those guys, though. Ian Gary, maybe. I think that Ian can pose a threat to the division. It's a wide open division, but if I had it right now, based off the information of what we have, who I think would take over after Islam, I think it would be Morales. Yeah, Ilya at 170, I think, is just a ridiculous thing. Like, most guys would be able to just beat him with the jab because he won't reach them. It would be that, like, it could be that simple. Yeah, I mean, if you do it, you do it at 165. You do either a 165 catch weight or you do a 165, make it a division. But I don't know that they want to do that. Hey, you're not far from me, and we're the global average. But all right, guys, that's it. That's UFC Qatar. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thanks for hanging with me. I'll run through the bets one more time. In terms of stuff going on this week, we just have the shorts that are going to come out. I don't want to make any promises. It's going to be Thursday or Friday. I don't have any other shows going on this week. If you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, you can only get those at the House of Stims Discord. Link in the description of this video. We made money this past weekend. It felt good because it always feels good to win for myself. But I take it very seriously that people tail my bets, and I get very stressed out when I lose because of that reason. I don't like losing people money. And when I can make people money, it feels really good. And the Discord was able to cash out. Saw a lot of beautiful tickets in there. People made good money, and I'm glad we were able to do it. And I hope we can keep doing it. And if you'd like to join us, link is in the description of this video. And if you can't figure it out, just hit me up on any social, DM me, and I'll help you figure it out. So in terms of picks, we're going to go Freeman, Saygid, Aliev, Badagher Pass, Loder, Topuria. Haven't taped it yet, but for now, Tagir, Yakhyaev, Riley, Badagher Pass. Haven't fully taped it yet, but for now, Asu. Haven't taped this one yet. For now, Shamil. Don't know why this fight is happening, but we're going Orobai, Uzdemir, Gary, and Tsarukyan. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Peace out and good luck this weekend.